What's up, Screen Junkies fans? It's Joe Starr. I am here with Jacqueline Coley from blackgirlnerds.com. We did a cool thing this weekend. We got to go up to the Bay Area to see 30 minutes of Rogue One, and we're going to talk about it a whole bunch. So, goes without saying, spoilers. Run for your lives if you don't want anything from Rogue One spoiled, because we're about to ruin your day, okay? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's talk about how there's no cold open at the beginning of Rogue One, Jacqueline.
Yeah, there's no scrawl. Like, this film, from the minute it came on air, I was like, this is not your everyday Star Wars. This is new Star Wars.
It's a jarring opening. The score, there was only one moment, we'll get there, but there's only one moment in the score so far in the film from what we've seen. Now, that sounded familiar. So it sounds like it belongs in Star Wars, but it's all new music. It was a lot to take in all at once. So what we kind of basically saw was like 3 different 10-minute chunks.
Well, we got the first 15 minutes all together, which was great because you got to see like how it's going to kick off and Jen, and a lot of that's from the trailer. Like, let's be honest, that's where they pull a lot of that stuff from.
Sure.
But you definitely can fill in the gaps. Spoiler again, but Jen is Maz Mikkelsen's daughter. So her journey is really to sort of figure out what he's doing to, create this Death Star. It's a very like Oppenheimer, like, atomic bomb type situation.
Right.
Yeah, like
So the footage like kicks off with that. We've all seen it in the trailers at this point. That image of Ben Mendelsohn's. I have so many names that are just like I'm just losing in my head right now. That Imperial
cruiser.
Crew kind of stepping up. Krennic.
Yeah, Krennic. Yes.
Stepping up. That's the beginning of the movie. Mads and his wife Lyra. You definitely get the idea that they've been waiting for this to happen.
Yep. Preparing for it, they've done dry runs. You know?
There's drills. They definitely have an earthquake plan in place in their family, which all families should. You should have disaster plans.
In this version of the Empire, I will say that because it's a much scarier version of the Empire. Because when we go into A New Hope, we know it's the Empire and they're the bad guys, but you don't really get to see the ominous nature of it. And Ben does this great job. He Gareth even said in the press conference, he's intimidating to look at. Like, he comes off as scary immediately, and you have no doubt that he will kill or do whatever he can to get this Death Star built. You can just tell it's his imperative.
Now, in the trailer, we definitely saw him have that good power, that dark side stank hand, that they do when they say the word power. But in this opening scene, when he's facing off with Mads, they're clearly old friends or some kind of relationship there. He's very charming, which was also incredibly disarming to watch.
Yeah.
So we see they also contact Saw Gerrera,
Forrest Whitaker's character,
to let him know that it's happening.
Yep. He's part of the drill.
Exactly, he is part of the drill. They stash young Jyn Erso away. Her mother does give her that Kyber crystal and says, trust in the Force.
Yeah.
And then just immediately gets marked.
Yes,
So
he kills her. And she knows it. She seems like maybe she was the rebel that made him turn away from what he was doing when he was just an Imperial scientist.
That's a really cool
maybe that's the Romeo and Juliet, no, you're doing wrong. And then they run off and they have a kid. Krennic knows about the kid because they actually do send the stormtroopers out to go look for her.
Yeah.
Did you hear what Gareth, I don't know if he said it if you're in the press conference, he talked about, in the opening images, Krennic is there with that white Imperial costume, and then the stormtroopers are all in black, whereas in A New Hope, in that first scene, Darth Vader's all in black, and all the stormtroopers around him are in white, and I just thought that was so awesome to have that juxtaposition. Yeah.
Well, sort of moving through, you meet characters in the. They're fast. They're fast. They're quick. We see, we move to the trading post next, right? The intergalactic
and we get
post.
Diego Luna.
We meet Diego Luna. First of all, this trading post is cool. We haven't quite seen
it's a very
Star Wars
cantina
location.
Scene. And cantina guys are in it. Did you see that?
Oh, yes. One of my, I almost don't want to spoil it here, but one of my, if you're going to do a cameo, this is the way to do it.
Cantina guys. We're not going to say which ones, but Cantina guys are there.
Cantina MVPs make a quick pass, and it's kind of great.
Yeah.
Diego Luna's character, we find out, I think, a lot about Cassian in this because, like, we've had scoundrels and thieves in Star Wars. Cassian is a cold-blooded killer.
See, I disagree, though. Cassian is a soldier.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, he's a cold-blooded killer, but I think it more comes to his imperative, like, there is evil in the world, and sometimes you have to combat evil.
But that goes into this
evil.
tone that we're talking about that we haven't really seen from Star Wars yet. Because so far in Star Wars, the good guys are, they're Qui-Gon Jinn, and like even Han Solo when he's shooting dudes, he's kind of. But we have Cassian meeting with a contact who lets him know that the Death Star is planning this huge super weapon.
And the guy's getting weak. Like in his conversations, he's like, we're all gonna die. Like you can tell that he's losing the hope, as it will.
Yeah.
And
he perhaps needs a new one.
But Diego Luna, he was injured, and the stormtroopers had recognized him, and they were coming around the corner, and Diego Luna sees the escape option, and he knows that this wounded guy is not gonna make it.
Yeah, his buddy's, this guy, well, I won't say buddy, but like this guy's panicking, he's now dead weight, and Cassian just shoots him.
And like in a really like, shh, baby doll, let me like shoot you in the back of the head type of way.
In our circles, we like to call that an old-fashioned river strangle, where you just
But let me just say real quick on Diego Luna, like I feel he is gonna have, between him and Alan Tudyk, who we get to right after this, are gonna have the two biggest impacts from this film. They're gonna be the people that people are talking about. They're gonna get
Cassian's the other guy that steals it, you think?
Yeah, I mean, between, maybe Riz, we didn't see a lot of Riz Ahmed's character, Bodhi, but apparently he's sort of the one that kicks off we now know we have a Death Star because he's a defector from the, he's a defective cargo shipment guy that Maz Mikkelsen, Jen's father, gives him a message saying, hey, you need to find my daughter, this awful thing
we've
is
had
happening.
that question answered as well. A lot of people have been speculating, well, how, when, like, Bodhi Rook is the guy.
Yes.
Who? So he's sort of. There's a few MacGuffins at play in the footage we saw. Bodhi Rook is one of them. He's this Imperial pilot with information.
Forrest Whitaker's the other, and
exactly.
So you're saying
it's going to be interesting.
I don't think he's going to be in the film that much though, just because of what we've seen. It's all been in these very short clips. So I just don't feel he's going to be in it. I could be wrong, but I just feel he's going to be another MacGuffin, and like they go to find him, and then things happen.
So so this MacGuffin requires Jyn Erso. We find our rebel team. Cassian and K2 break her out of a prison transport. She's been arrested by the Empire. We don't really know why. It might just be a random sweep. That's what Empires do. K2 immediately, I mean, he had maybe a minute of screen time in what we saw, and he steals the whole thing.
Oh my God, yes. He is awesome. And then Alan Tudyk at the press conference also stole everyone's hearts with just how charismatic and awesome he is.
Oh, and no, Alan Tudyk's hilarious. He's
and improvised most of the role. Like the role that he did was a lot him on set making stuff up.
I don't doubt it. He's different than any droid that we've seen so far. He's got sort of a weird mean streak to him, and he's
because he's been
funny.
Converted from an Imperial.
Droid. So he's like a sadistic Marvin the robot from if you're a Douglas Adams fan. He's great, and that was actually one of my first. That was another moment that stood out to me. It's a small moment, but Jyn is trying to make a break from these rebels. K2 kind of grabs her by the throat and slams her into the ground, and it's just that little moment. It's more visceral than anything I think I've felt in a Star Wars movie yet.
And it's a total shock because he just doesn't care.
And then he says, "We're rescuing you. Congratulations!"
Even though he just killed you. But I think the big thing to take away, it is a very different Star Wars film. Tudyk and Alan Tudyk's character, it's sort of like, I don't know, his character puts it in its whole different setup. That's all.
So then we sort of move into this next big MacGuffin. We've seen footage from the trailers on Jeddah, this Imperial occupation. The Stormtrooper hover tank that we've seen shots of. A lot of people were like, oh, well, this is, Jyn and Diego are about to ambush this thing. This is where we meet everyone else. This is where we meet Chirrut. Jeddah is basically Mogadishu in Black Hawk Down. It's about to explode. As we're walking, Diego Luna's character sort of introduces us to all these different elements. Chirrut is a guy, he was in charge of guarding these temples, but now
that had the kyber crystals
that
at,
had the
but
kyber
they've now
crystals
been
at.
stolen.
So now there's just these homeless guardians basically that are just causing trouble. They're waiting for their moment, and then we also have they're here on Jeddah to find Saw Gerrera, Forrest Whitaker's character, and this was one of the most interesting things to me. He is a member of the rebellion, but he is a fringe part of the rebellion that Mon Mothma and the main part of the rebellion as we know it wants nothing to do with.
Yeah.
I found that fascinating, that there are just, there's evil versions of, well, not evil, but like fringe elements of the rebellion. There's different layers.
It's that militarism. It's this whole idea of like, this again is like they put the war part of Star Wars very much front and center.
Which gets us in, I think this is probably the big thing to talk about. We do see that hover tank assault, and
it's really great.
It's so intense. It felt like, you know, that bringing down the tank and saving Private Ryan. It's desperate. It's very visceral. The camera's right there with you.
And then Donnie Yen being Donnie Yen.
Oh, and then that, that huge Donnie Yen reveal where he kind of takes his moment and steps in. You have all of these elements sort of come together in a very volatile, sudden mix.
Donnie Yen is Book of Eli in space, basically. Like he's like the blind Jedi master.
But also very
stuff.
charismatic, kind of charismatic, fun, and kind of quippy. But this is definitely, you know, a Star Wars we haven't seen before. It's the tanks, it's the ammo. Like there are people who believe in the religion of the Force, but this definitely feels like a place where the Force is some ancient religion that only a few people have access to, and everyone else is down here in the mud. It was
Apocalypse Now in space, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you know, it was hard to get do I have a good feel for like how the movie as a whole is going to play? No.
It's Disney. They keep that pretty well to the rest.
But based on what we saw, it's different. I saw just in this chunk, I saw some of my favorite aliens I've seen in a Star Wars film. K2 is going to steal this thing. The cast agreed when we talked to them at the junket. Everyone said K2 is the standout.
Which we haven't even talked about. It's also kind of not as much as Felicity's film. Like, we'll see what happens, but
this
I don't know.
No, I agree. This is definitely going to be an ensemble, Seven Samurai, Saving Private Ryan. Everyone's going to get their moment to shine, I think. It's going to be a cool movie. Jacqueline, you got any closing thoughts?
No, just the fact that I think people should see it. I think for those that maybe saw The Force Awakens and felt like it was just a rehash of A New Hope and they didn't like that as much, I don't think you're going to feel this. I think Gareth Edwards really made his own film, which got the stamp of George Lucas's approval.
Yeah, George Lucas's, and as you'll find out from us throughout the week, a few other directors as well.
Yeah.
Ooh, a tease. Guys, thank you so much. What are you most excited to see about Rogue One? Are we terrible at remembering the names of things and places? Yeah, let us in the comments.
Of course.
We're stoked about Rogue One. We want to hear from you guys. For any other videos you want to see, use the Force in this general area. We'll see you soon. Bye, Internet.